Shalom, shalom to all my fellow brothers and sisters out there. It's me again, Damian Powell from YeshuaSavesAll.com. Peace be to you in the name of our Father, Yahweh, and our Master, the Son of Yahweh, Yeshua HaMashiach. So today, my fellow brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about wait. Wait. Often in this life, we as human beings get impatient when things don't go the way that we think they should. And we end up taking matters into our own hands and making decisions instead of waiting for Yahweh. I know it's easier said than done, but it's something that we all must work on, and that is the reason for this message. I will give a personal example as it is fitting for this message, as I too am in a waiting period. So it's not a message that doesn't apply to me. It applies to all of us, as I too have been waiting for a wife for almost 8 years. But I won't stop waiting until his appointed time, okay? And that's if time permits, because we don't know the day or the hour. We know what the world is looking like, but only he knows, okay? And Elohim willing, I will do a message on this topic in the future for all the single men out there, for encouragement not to give up on waiting for her to come, because there is some promises in the scriptures concerning this very issue. Okay, so the point is that waiting applies to us all. That is the whole point. So I want to give a personal example on that of waiting before I dig into this. So sometimes we will pray for something, and if it doesn't happen within a day or two, we think that Elohim did not hear us. Okay? And then we go and do our own thing without his guidance or approval. Or we will act without even taking it to him in prayer at all. We must remember this. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Moreover, dear friends, do not ignore this. With Yahweh, one day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like one day. Psalms chapter 90, verse 4. For from your viewpoint, 1,000 years are merely like yesterday or a night watch. We have to remember that. Yahweh operates outside of time and space, and he doesn't see things the way that we see them. He doesn't think the way that we think. But whenever he does answer us, it is always at the right time. That's the key. It's always at the right time. But when we get ahead of him, that's when things go awry. And I can personally attest to that to my own life. Whenever I put my hands on something thinking that I can do it, it falls apart. Okay? It falls apart, and that even goes for, that just goes for anything. That goes for anything. It falls apart without his guidance, without taking it to him, it'll fall apart every time. So that's why I choose to wait upon Yahweh for everything. Okay, now, the word wait in Hebrew is the word Kawa. Kawa in Hebrew, and it's spelled Kuf Wa Hey. Okay? It's Kuf Wa Hey. Kuf Wa Hey. All right? So Kuf is a picture of the sun on the horizon, and it means to condense, circle, time. Then you have Wa. Okay? Wall is a picture of a tent peg, and it means add, secure, hook. And then you have Hey, which is a picture of a man with his arms raised, which means look, reveal, breath. Okay, so when we combine Kuf, Wall, Hey for Kawal, which means wait, we get this message. Time secures revelation. Time secures revelation. In other words, when we wait, Kawa, on Yahweh, which requires time, then we will receive revelation as he wills it. Okay? Then we will receive revelation as he wills it. Trust me, my brothers and sisters, whatever Yahweh has planned or appointed for your life, it will come to pass, and there will be nothing that you can do about it. Okay? It will come to pass. So, let's look at some examples here in Scripture about waiting. Let's go to Jubilees chapter 14, verse 21 through 24. Concerning Abraham having a son, Avraham. And Avram rejoiced. This is Jubilees chapter 14, verse 21 through 24. Jubilees chapter 14, verse 21 through 24. And Abram rejoiced and told all these things to Sarai his wife. And he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. You see, he believed that she would have seed. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. He believed that he would have seed through Sarai. Excuse me. And Sarai advised her husband Abram and said to him, "Go into Hagar, my Egyptian handmaid. It may be that I will build up seed to you by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai his wife and said to her, "Do so." And Sarai took Hagar, her handmaid, the Egyptian, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as wife. And he went into her, and she conceived and bore him a son. And he called his name Ishmael, Yishmael, in the 5th year of this week. And this was the 86th year in the life of Abram. Okay, so as you see, let's go back to the verse 21. And Abram rejoiced and told all these things to Sarai his wife, because he was told that he would have a son through her. And he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. Okay, she didn't bear. So the beautiful thing is that Abraham believed that he would have a son and rejoiced. Hallelujah. However, Sarai did not bear a son when they thought she would. So Sarai figured the plan was to bring about the child through Hagar, and Abram went with the plan. Although Yahweh said the child will be born by Sarai, and not Hagar. The result is that Ishmael was not the covenant son of the promise, though Yahweh blessed him as well, made him a great nation, right? He says that you'll be the father of 12 princes. But Yitzhak, Isaac, was the covenant son to be born to them. Isaac was the covenant son, not Ishmael. I know you're all familiar with this. But rather, Isaac would be born to them, and it was 14 years later. Because as we read, this was in the 86th year in the life of Abram, right? 14 years later, Isaac was born to them, Genesis 21, verse 5. So 14 years is a long time to us. It's a long time to us. We're like, wow. Did he hear my prayer? Is it going to happen, right? 14 years is a long time. But 14 years is less than a day to Yahweh. Okay, it's less than a day to Yahweh. And it just goes to show that his promises never fail. We just have to wait for him. And trust me, in no way am I casting blame on anyone. No way. Okay, because I know times can be difficult. This message is hopefully here to strengthen people, to strengthen brothers and sisters that Yahweh's promises don't fail. And especially Abraham, a man of great trust, the father of a multitude. Okay, he left his home country to go to a place that Yahweh would show him. That required great trust. How many of us would do that today? Think about that. He got up and left. Beautiful. Okay. The only point I'm showing is that waiting for us can be difficult, but Elohim will answer. Okay, so I don't want anybody to take anything out of context that I'm casting any type of blame on Abraham. Let it not be. Let it not be. A lot of these are right. The patriarchs, our righteous ancestors, did a lot of things that people here, many of us wouldn't do today. For example, David went up against Goliath, the giant. How many of us would do that today? Okay, so just want to put that in context. All right, now, Judith, chapter 7, verse 19 through 32, in the Apocrypha. Judith, chapter 7, verse 19 through 32. The children of Israel cried to Yahweh their Elohim because their heart failed. For all their enemies had circled round about them, and there was no way to escape out from among them. Thus all the company of Assyria remained about them, both their footmen, chariots, and horsemen, 34 days. So that all their vessels of water failed all the inhabitants of Bethulia, and all their cisterns were empty, and they did not have water to drink their fill for 1 day, for they gave them drink by measure. Therefore their young children were discouraged, their women and young men fainted for thirst and fell down in the streets of the city and by the passages of the gates, and there was no longer any strength in them. Then all the people assembled to Uzziyahu and to the chief of the city, both young men and women and children, and cried with a loud voice and said before all the elders, Elohim, be judge between us and you. For you have done us great injury in that you have not required peace from the children of Assyria. For now we have no helper, but Elohim has sold us into their hands, that we should be thrown down before them with thirst and great destruction. Now, therefore, call them to you, and deliver the whole city as spoil to the people of Holofernes and to all his army. For it is better for us to be made as spoil to them than to die of thirst. For we will be his servants, that all our souls may live and not see the death of our infants before our eyes, nor our wives, nor our children. We take to witness against you, heaven and earth, and our Elohim and our master of our fathers, who punishes us according to our iniquities, and we have said this day. Then there was a great weeping with one consent in the midst of the assembly, and they cried to Yahweh Elohim with a loud voice. Then Uzziyahu said to them, Brothers, be of good courage. Let us endure yet 5 days, in which space Yahweh our Elohim may turn his mercy toward us. For he will not forsake us utterly. And if these days pass and no help come to us, I will do according to your word. I want you to keep that in mind. He says, let us endure 5 days. And if these days pass and no help come to us, I will do according to your word. And he dispersed the people, everyone to their own charge, and they went to the walls and towers of their city and sent the women and children into their houses, and they despaired greatly in the city. So, as we see, the elders gave Yahweh a total of 5 days to act. And if he didn't, then they would take matters into their own hands and turn themselves over to the captain of the Assyrian army. Yes, 34 days had gone by, and Uzziyahu added another 5 days for a total of 39 days for Yahweh to intervene, right? But we can say more 5 days because he gave Yahweh 5 days to act, but it's a total of 39 days at this point with him tacking on another 5. But Elohim could have been waiting to act on the 40th day, okay? the number that we see all throughout Scripture, where Yeshua fasted for 40 days. Moses was on the Mount Sinai for 40 days, right? So these are just a few examples. Again, pointed back to the scriptures from Psalms and Peter, is that 1,000 years is a day, and a day is 1,000 in the eyes of our Elohim. So the point is, you cannot put him into a box. As I mentioned in the introduction, people will pray, and when it doesn't happen in the time they think it should happen, then they feel as though their prayers were not heard. And if you give him 5 days, how do you not know he was going to respond in 10 days? Okay? After a day or two, people will act without waiting to hear back from Yahweh. We all have been guilty of this. Okay? And we see how many days it took for him to respond to Jeremiah. And guess what? It was not immediately. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 42, verse 1 through 2. Then all the officers of the forces and Yochanan, the son of Kareah, and Jezaniah, the son of Hoshaiah, and all the people from the young to the old came near, and they said to Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, we beseech you, pray for us. They're asking Jeremiah to pray for them before Yahweh your Elohim. For we are left but a few of many, as your eyes see us, that Yahweh our Elohim may show us the way by which we may go, and the thing that we may do. Then Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah the prophet, said to them, I have heard you. Behold, I will pray before Yahweh your Elohim, according to your words. And it came to pass, and it shall come to pass, that whatever Yahweh shall answer you, I will declare it to you, and I will hide nothing from you. Then they said to Jeremiah, may Yahweh be a true and faithful witness between us, if we do not do according to the word with which Yahweh your Elohim shall send you to us. Whether it be good or whether it be bad, we will obey the voice of Yahweh our Elohim. And here's the key. And it came to pass after 10 days. I'll read it again. And it came to pass after 10 days that the word of Yahweh came to Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah the prophet. So it wasn't 1 day, it wasn't 2 days, it wasn't 5 days. It was after 10 days that Yahweh responded. How many of us would wait 10 days to hear back from Yahweh? That is what we call Kawa, the word that we just explained in Hebrew, to wait. How many are going to wait? Just jump right into it. Say, nope, he didn't hear me. I didn't hear back. And go on and do. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah could have done that and said, I didn't hear back from Yahweh, so, do what you do. He didn't do that. Okay? Now, Judith understood this very well. Judith understood this very well. Let's go to Judith chapter 8, verse 9 through 22. And this is still concerning that same issue about what the elders told the people. I'll give Yahweh 5 days to act. If he doesn't, we'll deliver ourselves over to the Assyrians. Okay? So Judith chapter 8, verse 9 through 22. Now when she, Judith, heard the evil words of the people against the governor, that they fainted for lack of water, for Judith had heard all the words that Uzziyahu had spoken to them, and that he had sworn to deliver the city to the Assyrians after 5 days. Then she sent her maidservants that had the administration of all things that she had to call Uzziyahu and Heber and Carchemish, the ancients of the city. And they came to her, and she said to them, hear me now, O you governors of the inhabitants of Bethulia. For your words that you have spoken before the people this day is not right. Regarding this oath which you made and pronounced between Elohim and you, and have promised to deliver the city to our enemies, unless Yahweh turns to help you within these days. You see, put him in a box. Unless Yahweh turns to help you within these days. And now, who are you that you have tempted Elohim this day, and stand instead of Elohim among the children of men, and not try Yahweh of hosts, YeshuaSavesAll, but you shall never know anything. For you cannot find the depth of the heart of man, neither can you perceive the things that he thinks. How then can you search out Elohim, that has made all things, and know his mind or comprehend his purpose? No, my brothers, do not provoke Yahweh our Elohim to anger. For if he will not help us within these 5 days, he has power to defend us when he wills, even every day, or to destroy us before our enemies. Do not bind the counsels of Yahweh our Elohim. For Elohim is not a man that he may be threatened, neither is he as the Son of Man that he should be wavering. Therefore, let us Kawa, wait for his salvation, and call on him to help us, and he will hear our voice if it pleases him. Hallelujah. She said it best right there. Everything has a time and a season according to Yahweh's plan. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verses 57 through 58. Then I arose and walked in the field, giving great esteem and praise to the Most High because of his wonders, which he did from time to time, and because he governs the times and whatever things come to pass, and as these dreams show. Hallelujah. We simply have to wait, Kawa, be patient, because we cannot force the hand of Yahweh. Let's go to Yashar chapter 75, verse 1 through 7. Jasher chapter 75, verse 1 through 17. 1 through 17. And it happened in the 180th year. Keep that number in mind. It happened in the 180th year of the Israelites going down into Mitzrayim, Egypt. There went forth from Egypt valiant men, 30,000 on foot, from the children of Israel, who were all of the tribe of Joseph, of the children of Ephraim, the sons of Joseph. For they said, listen to this, for they said, not Yahweh said, for they said, the period was completed which Yahweh had appointed to the children of Israel in the times of old, which he had spoken to Abraham. Again, instead of waiting for the appointed time for deliverance according to Yahweh's prophecy given to Abraham, they tried to force it. Notice this happened in the 180th year while in slavery. And yet Yahweh said that they would be captives for 400 years. This means that they were impatient and tried to jump the gun by a whole 220 years. This prophecy was spoken by Yahweh in Genesis chapter 15, verse 12 through 14. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Horror and great darkness came over him. Yahweh said to Abram, know this for certain, your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression there 400 years. But I will also judge that nation, that one that makes them slaves. Afterwards, they will leave with many possessions. Now, let's go back to Joshua 75, continue. And these men girded themselves, and they put each man his sword at his side, every man his armor upon him, and they trusted in their strength. They trusted in their strength. And they went out together from Mitzrayim, Egypt, with a mighty hand. But they brought no provision for the road, only silver and gold, not even bread for that day did they bring in their hands. For they thought of getting their provision for pay from the Philistines, and if not, they would take it by force, because they trusted in their strength. And these men were very mighty and valiant men. One man could pursue 1,000, two could rout 10,000. So they trusted to their strength and went together as they were, and they directed their course toward the land of Gath. And they went down and found the shepherds of God feeding the cattle of the children of God. And they said to the shepherds, "Give us some of the sheep for pay, that we may eat, for we are hungry. We have not eaten no bread this day." And the shepherds said, "Are they our sheep, our cattle, that we should give them to you for pay?" So the children of Ephraim approached to take them by force. And the shepherds of God shouted over them that their cry was heard at a distance, so that all the children of God went out to them. And when the children of God saw that the evil doings of the children of Ephraim, they returned and assembled the men of Gath. And they put on each man his armor and came forth to the children of Ephraim in battle. And they engaged with them in the valley of Gath. And the battle was severe. And they struck from each other a great many on that day. And on the second day, the children of God sent to all the cities of the Philistines, that they should come help them, saying, Come up to us and help us, that we may strike the children of Ephraim, who have come forth from Egypt to take our cattle and to fight against us without cause. Now the beings of the children of Ephraim were exhausted with hunger and thirst, for they had eaten no bread for 3 days. And 40,000 men went forth from the cities of the Philistines to the assistance of the men of Gath. And these men were engaged in battle with the children of Ephraim. And Yahweh delivered the children of Ephraim into the hands of the Philistines. And they struck all the children of Ephraim, all who had gone forth from Egypt. None were remaining but 10 men, who had run away from the engagement. For this evil was from Yahweh against the children of Ephraim. For they transgressed the word of Yahweh in going forth from Egypt before the period had arrived, which Yahweh in the days of old had appointed to Israel. Now, notice that this passage says that this was from Yahweh. 10 men from Ephraim survived. Now, 10 in the Odeo is Yod. Yod, right? It's the picture of an arm and a hand. It means to work, hand, throw, worship. So this shows that Yahweh's hand overthrew them and gave them over into the hands of the Philistines. No matter how we feel about a situation, we have to wait for Yahweh's timing. Because if you get ahead of what he has ordained for your life, then this could be the result. Wait for him in prayer and wait for all his appointed times in your life to manifest. And you know, even my own testimony comes back to me while I'm thinking about it, is when I was at the sheriff's office, for example, if anybody seen the testimony, I wanted to leave 5 years in. I was ready to go. But it was not Yahweh's appointed time for me. I had to wait. Kawa. I had to wait. I had to wait. And I wanted to leave so bad. 5 years in. Especially when I got transferred from the position I was in to going into the back of the jail. It's all in the testimony. So I was not able to leave until 14 years. Right? So you can do the math and you can see that when I was ready, he wasn't ready for me to go yet. There were still some things that he wanted to show me, still some things that had to be accomplished in my own life. And I know what they are now, I know what they are now, but I didn't understand that then. So I could have gone ahead and moved outside of the will of Yahweh. And who knows what would have happened at that point. So again, another personal testimony concerning myself about waiting. It was tough, but it happened. It happened. Now, let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 1 through 35. Then David set out and went down to the Paran desert. Now there was a man in Moab who had property in Carmel. He was very rich, having 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. The man's name was Nabal, and his wife was named Abigail. The woman was intelligent and attractive, but the man was surly and mean in his actions. He belonged to the clan of Caleb. David there in the desert heard that Nabal was shearing his sheep. David sent off 10 young men with these orders: go up to Nabal in Carmel and bring him greetings from me. Say, long life and shalom to you, shalom to your household, and shalom to everything that is yours. I've heard that you now have shearers. Your shepherds were with us for a while. We did them no harm, and they found nothing missing all the time that they were in Carmel. Ask your own men, they'll tell you. Therefore receive my men favorably, since we have come on a festive day. Please give what you can to your servants and to your son David. On arrival, David's men said all these things to Nabal in David's name. And when they had finished, Nabal answered David's servants, who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants nowadays running away from the masters. Am I supposed to take my bread, my water, my meat that I slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where? So David's men turned around, went back, and came and told everything Nabal had said. David said to his men, buckle your swords on, all of you. Each one buckled on his sword, David too. And there went up after David about 400 men, while 200 stayed with the equipment. But one of Nabal's men told Abigail, his wife, David sent messengers from the desert to greet our master, and he flew on them in a rage, even though the men had been very good to us. They didn't harm us, and we found nothing missing during the entire time we went with them. While we were out in the countryside, they served as a wall protecting us day and night all the time. We were with them caring for the sheep. So now decide what you are going to do, for clearly harm is on its way to our master and all his household. But he's so mean that no one can tell him anything. Abigail wasted no time in taking 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep already prepared, 6 quarts of roasted grain, and 100 clusters of raisins, 200 fig cakes, and having them loaded on the donkeys. Then she said to her young men, "Go on ahead of me, and I will come after you." But she didn't tell her husband Nabal. She was riding her donkey down past the hiding place in the mountain when David and his men descended toward her. As she met them, David said, "What a waste it has been guarding everything this fellow has in the desert, so that nothing of his was missing. He has repaid me bad for good." Then he swore, "May Elohim do the same and more to David's enemies if I leave alive even one male of everything he owns." When Abigail saw David, she hurried to dismount from her donkey, fell on her face in front of David, and bowed to the ground. Having fallen at his feet, she said, "It's all my fault, my master, all my fault. Please let your servant speak in your ears and listen to what your servant says. Please, my master shouldn't pay any attention to this worthless fellow Nabal, because he's just like his name. Nabal means boar, and his boorishness stays with him. But I, your servant, did not see my master's men, whom you sent. Therefore, my master, as Yahweh lives, and as you live, and as much as Yahweh has kept you from the guilt of shedding blood and from taking vengeance into your own hands, therefore may your enemies and anyone seeking your harm be as worthless as Nabal. Meanwhile, let this present which your servant has brought to my master be given to the men in my master's service. And please forgive the offense your servant has caused, because Yahweh will certainly establish my master's dynasty. For my master fights Yahweh's battles, and nothing bad has been found in you all your life long. Even if someone comes along searching for you and seeking your life will be bound in the bundle of life with Yahweh your Elohim. But the lives of your enemies he will fling as if it were from the pouch of a slingshot. Then when Yahweh has done all the good to my master that he has said about you and made you ruler over Yisrael, what happens here will not have become an obstacle to you or a cause for remorse to my master, neither that you shed blood without cause, nor that my master took vengeance into his own hands. Finally, when Yahweh has dealt well with my master, then remember your servant." David said to Abigail, "Blessed be Yahweh, the Elohim of Yisrael, who sent you today to meet me, and blessed be your tactfulness, and blessed be yourself for having kept me today from the guilt of shedding blood and taking vengeance into my own hands. For as Yahweh, the Elohim of Yisrael, lives, who has kept me from harming you, if you hadn't rushed to meet me, not even one male would have been left to Nabal by morning." So David received from her what she had brought him, then said to her, "Go in peace to your home. I have listened to what you have said and granted your request." So David recognized that he was about to take matters into his own hands instead of waiting for Yahweh, who eventually took care of Nabal. Yahweh struck him down, right? So remember, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 35, "Vengeance is mine and recompense against the time when their foot shall slip, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that are come upon them shall make haste. Okay, so we've all have wanted to take matters into our own hands. You get upset, you get angry, and then you just want to go and act. And David was like, whoa, he was about to act. He was about to act and slay all the men of Nabal and Nabal himself, right? He was going to take matter into his own hands, but Yahweh took care of it. When we wait for Yahweh to act, it's always going to be the best outcome. Okay? So, wait, my brothers and sisters, wait. Psalms 37, verse 7. Be still. Wait for Yahweh. Wait patiently till he comes. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. Yet Yahweh is just waiting to show you favor. He will have pity on you from on high. For Yahweh is an Elohim of justice. Happy are all who wait for him. Kawa. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 24 through 26. Yahweh is my portion, says my being. Therefore I Kawa. I wait for him. Yahweh is good to those waiting for him, to the being who seeks him. It is good both to wait, Kawa, and to be silent for the deliverance of Yahweh. Exodus chapter 14, verse 10 through 14. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Yisrael looked up and saw the Egyptians right there coming after him. In great fear, the people of Yisrael cried out to Yahweh and said to Moses, was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to die in the desert? Why have you done this to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? That we'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians? It would have been better for us to be the Egyptian slaves than to die in the desert. Moses answered the people, stop being fearful. Remain steady, and you will see how Yahweh is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. Yahweh will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down. We all need to just calm ourselves down and wait on Yahweh, because he will act even when you don't think that he is, because he is always working behind the scenes. And he can make something happen at the last minute, even when you least expect it. He parted the Red Sea for his people, and we are also his people. I'm just referring to his people during that time who were living. How much more can he do in our lives? He can part the Red Sea and move mountains in your life today, just as he did then. Let us Kawa, wait, because time secures revelation. Hallelujah, Yahweh. As always, may our Father Yahweh Barak bless you in Yeshua's name. Shalom.